Okay, in our last video here in section 4.3, we are going to show you how to find the vertex, the equation of the axis of symmetry, or what I like to call the line of symmetry, maxes, mins, from once you have the equation in vertex form. So again, the line of symmetry is always a vertical line. It has to go through the vertex, which means it has to go through this point, HK. Vertical lines always have the equation x equals a constant. Well, what constant do we want? H. So there's my equation of the axis or line of symmetry. Your max or min, this is always going to be your k value. Now what we have to decide is, well, is that k going to be the max or is it going to be the min? In order to find that out, you got to look at the a value. If a is negative, you know the parabola opens down, and then your k value will be a max. That's where your vertex is located. And if a is a positive value in front of the parentheses, then you know the vertex is a min because the parabola opens up and the vertex is at the bottom. So if there's my equation, we had this one earlier, where's the vertex? Okay, change the sign on the constant in the parentheses, 1, -3. There's my vertex. What's my axis of symmetry equation or line of symmetry? X equals the 1. If it's an equation, you have to have an equal sign. You can't just put 1. What's the max or min? You have to tell me max or min, and then tell me where it's at. It's at -3. All right, so try this one. I'll pause for a second, or you can pause the video and find those three things: the vertex, axis of the symmetry equation, and the max or min. All right, our vertex, -5, 9. X equals -5, and because 4 is positive, it opens up. So that's a min at the k value, or the y coordinate, which is 9. Okay, writing an equation given information points. There's two types of questions we're going to look at. First one, write the equation of a parabola with the vertex at 4, -3, and contains the point 6, -11. Well, if they say vertex right away, then I want the vertex equation to write the equation of this parabola. So if this is my h and k, 4 and -3, I'm putting them in. So it's x minus 4, quantity squared, with a -3. All I have to do is find the a value. Okay, well, what's the other point 6, -11 for? I got to find a. Well, wait a minute. It does help me. The 6 is the x coordinate. The -11 or -11 is the y coordinate. So let's plug 6 in for x and put -11 in for y. And now you can solve for a. Okay, well, 6 minus 4 is 2. 2 squared is 4, so that's 4a minus 3 equals a -11. Add over the 3, that makes it -8. Divide by 4 makes it -2. Bada bing, bada boom. Put the -2 in for where a is, and there's the equation of your parabola. Our next example is a little bit different. Write the equation of a parabola with the points at 4, 4, 3, 10, and 7, 10. They did not give us the vertex. Well, they kind of gave us a way to find it. They just didn't up front give us the vertex, but they did, if you notice, give us 2 points that flip over your axis of symmetry. So 4, 4 is probably our lowest point. And the 2 y coordinates that are the same, that's probably going to be my 3, 10 and my 7, 10. So if you draw in your line of symmetry right down the middle, it's going to go through the vertex here. So that means I can find the value of the x coordinate of the vertex, because that's got to be right in the middle between 3 and 7. That's like finding the average of two numbers. So find the average of the x coordinates. Okay, add 3 plus 7 is 10, divided by 2, it's 5. There's your midpoint, 5, 10, right there. Found it. Finding the midpoint between 2 points is the same thing as saying find the average of your coordinates. Find the average of your 2x coordinates, find the average of your 2y coordinates. Well, why would you take 10 plus 10 and divide it by 2? It's still 10. They're the same numbers. So now we know what the x coordinate is down here. It's 5 comma something. I'm almost at the vertex. So notice that this point right here, we seem to be counting by ones. I mean, here's 3, here's 4, here's 5. So they're counting. So I'm going to go to that pattern that we talked about. 1 to the left, up, A. That's my 1A right there. Then my next change is 1 to the left, up 3A. Now, I can't find A down here because I don't know the y coordinate. But I can find A up here. I know both y coordinates. I know the distance of that 3A arrow. 10 minus 4 is 6. And 3A equals 6 tells me that A has to be equal to 2. So if we go down here, and if this A is 2, then from 5 I went 1 to the left, up 2 to get to 4, or 4 minus 2 is 2. And there's my H and K. I have everything to write my parabola. I have the A value and I have my vertex. I have everything. 2 times the binomial x minus 5, the quantity squared, plus a 2. There it all is. I have everything. But the only way I could do this is that these 2 points have to be flipped over that axis of symmetry. So if you get 2 points where the y coordinates are the same, you can find the axis of symmetry, the x value of your vertex. And then we use our pattern 1a, 3a to find the a value. And then in turn find the k of the vertex. All right, next, quickly wanted to discuss the patterns here. You don't have to write this down unless you want to. The usefulness between these 2 equations. In both these equations, A is known. It tells us how the parabola is going to open, whether it opens up or down. Up, if A is positive, it opens up. A is negative, it opens down. And it also tells us how we change our pattern for graphing. 1, 3, 5, 7, you multiply that A to those values. The other thing you can get over here is the C. The C will always be your y-intercept. Because if you put 0 into those 2 x's, they cancel out and you're left with C. So that's your y-intercept. And then unfortunately, nothing else you can do is with this equation. But over here, you can have the vertex. You can graph it. You can find the line of symmetry. You can find the max and min. And you can also find the x-intercepts really fast. If you want to find the x-intercept, it's just like finding the y-intercept. You just switch the place of the 0. X-intercepts are going to be some number comma 0. So y is 0. You don't want to put 0 here because you have 2 x terms to solve for. But if you put 0 over here, you have 1 x that you can solve for. So here, subtract over the k, divide over the a, take the square root of both sides, add over the h, and you've got your x coordinates of the x-intercepts. All right, so let's work out one of these problems where you have to find all this information here. The y-intercept, x-intercept, max mins, line of symmetry, and vertex. We just won't graph it because we already practiced graphing. So we want to find all this information. They give you an equation in a generalized form. So again, if we go back, the easiest thing to find out of this form, y-intercept. Do that first. 0, 4. Next, I need to put this into vertex form. And because it's just plain old x squared out in front, I'm going to complete the square and do that. All right, are you ready? Here it is. Boom. Done. Y equals x minus 3 squared minus 5. Where is the plus blank and the minus blank? You don't need it. Remember, I take half of the b value. Half of negative 6 is negative 3. That's going to be squared. That's minus 3. There's my binomial. The x squared and the negative 3 squared go in the binomial squared. Then I take that minus 3, I square it to get a 9. And I subtract it from the 4 because that's the minus blank on the outside. 4 minus 9 minus 5. There, that's the vertex form. I can find my vertex. It's at 3, negative 5. Change the sign right there. I can find my line of symmetry. It's the x-coordinate. X equals 3. I can find my max or min. A is positive. It's a 1. It opens up, so I got a min at the negative 5. I can find my x-intercepts. Just set this equation equal to 0. Well, I like to have my x's on the left when I solve, so I like to move everything to the right. So I'm going to put the 0 over on the right side. I add over the 5. I take the square root of both sides. That's plus or minus the square root of 5. Add over the 3, and I like to sneak it right in front of the plus or minus. There's my x-intercepts. 3 plus or minus the square root of 5, comma 0. And don't be surprised, in my math lab, they ask you for the x-intercepts, but they ask you for the exact values. Whenever they ask you for exact values, no decimal points are allowed. You can't put in a decimal or rounded decimal answer. They'll count it wrong. Okay? So, once you get it to that vertex form, all this information from the vertex on down, you can find right from there.